When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the Grease Comms YouTube channel. Today's video, we are going to be talking about who is right, the blacks or the greens. Now, this is going to be talking more or less about Rhaenyra, who is the black side of it because of the dress she wears and the colors she wears, the normal traditional Targaryen colors. And then this will also be Alicent with the greens, and that is because of the clothes she wears. These are kind of our two factions that's growing in House of the Dragon. So in today's video, we're going to talk about within House of the Dragon, not Fire and Blood, because Fire and Blood is kind of its own separate entity that we'd have to talk about different things with. We're going to be focusing on House of the Dragon, and so far the decisions made so far, and the characters that we have so far in House of the Dragon. Which faction is really right? Which side is kind of on the morally high ground, and which side is kind of a little not so good? So before we get into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment for more of this type of content, please do. We're going to be doing all the House of the Dragon as the show continues on, doing live streams with the breakdowns of the actual episodes, as well as previews for the episodes when they come out. So, to start with these two characters, we are going to do something that my stream chat introduced to me, and I thought was a really good analogy and or concept, is Rhaenyra and Alicent very much feel like Arya and Sansa. They kind of fit the same molds, where Rhaenyra is this character that's very willful. She doesn't really fit into this traditional woman where these women are supposed to do all the things their father tells them. They're supposed to be very ladylike and not dragon riding and all this stuff. And Alicent is basically like Sansa in this regard, where she is ladylike. She follows all of the rules. She does what her father tells her to do. She's very much by the book, right? She's your traditional lady during this time, right? And we see how those differences cause conflict between the two. Whereas Alicent, her story leads her to kind of doing some morally gray things, where her father tells her basically to seduce the king. And then she's also doing it behind the back of Rhaenyra. So a lot of morally gray to morally bad things going on here with Alicent. But let's look at why these are happening. Why is Alicent being put in this position? And is she responsible for what's going on, really? And to start with, I would say no, right? This is completely, Alicent feels uncomfortable with the actions she's having to do, and even lying to Rhaenyra, I think she feels very uncomfortable about, but she's still going through with it. And yes, she is just doing what most women in this society, or most women in her shoes would do, and just, you know, following what her father tells you, because this is a very different society than today's society, where in today's society, this is not the case, right? People can do kind of what they want to do. They're not forced to be like, oh, your parents are telling you this is what kind of job you should have. That's what you do. No, that's not how it works in the real world, right? For the most part. But in this society, it's very much if your father tells you to marry this guy and do this and do that, you're going to do it. That's just how the society works. It's a very male-dominated society. And Alicent kind of just plays into that, right? And she does all these things that we later see that kind of lead to some bad things happening. But Rhaenyra is the complete opposite. Rhaenyra does not go into this system. She does not do the wishes of her father. She does not make it easy on Viserys. She does not want to get married. She doesn't want to be just married off to someone. She doesn't want to have children, really, because of the horrors of her mother dying in childbirth. She is someone that very much is the complete opposite of Alicent in a lot of regards. And it leads them both to make bad decisions and to fracture their relationship. Right, we see with Alicent going behind Rhaenyra's back, losing some of the trust there, and feeling like a betrayal for Rhaenyra when she does get with Viserys's, or when she gets with Rhaenyra's dad, Viserys. And we see Rhaenyra kind of does the same thing right back, right? They're both not innocent and how their relationship fractures, right? Rhaenyra kind of lies to Alicent, but Alicent in her own way, right? When we talk about Alicent and go into a deep dive of her character, Alicent is someone that starts to feel jealous and not like Rhaenyra because of all the things Alicent can never do. Like, look at how Alicent's life goes. She ends up being with this old dude where she really has no physical attraction to. We get that really horrifying scene where they're sleeping together, Viserys and Alicent. And we see how Alicent's kind of just being used to pop out heirs, right? She has 3 children at this point. She has them earlier than Rhaenyra starts having children. So we see how Alicent sees how Rhaenyra is. Rhaenyra is someone that doesn't have to be forced to marry someone. She can marry pretty much whoever she wants as long as they're a decent lord. We see how she's jealous of that, where Alicent goes, Rhaenyra, your life could be so much worse, right? You're getting to basically choose how your life goes and all these things. And Rhaenyra really just doesn't fully understand that what she's talking about is her own life. Alicent is very unhappy with motherhood and how her life has gone so far. And then that kind of leads into her, I would almost say, villainous arc because of how episode 6 frames her as a character. By the way, there will be spoilers for the last couple episodes as well. I know we're kind of already, deep into the review anyway, but yeah, so episode 6, there will be spoilers for. And it's interesting when you look at that because Rhaenyra kind of seems oblivious to the fact that Alicent kind of hates her life and what's kind of been going on. And I think that's the big thing that contradicts the characters, where I think Alicent the entire time wanted a reason to stop being friends with Rhaenyra, right? I think there was a something like in her mind where she already had this resentment or this kind of hate for Rhaenyra, but she kind of kept it together for a while, and they were still able to have this friendship until Alicent kind of realizes that Rhaenyra lied to her about losing her virginity. Now, this is another thing because it goes against everything Alicent has been told and her beliefs in life, where as a woman, you need to do your duty and you need to not sleep with people before your wedding or anything like that. You need to stay faithful to your husband or whatever. And also lying to her. So it kind of goes against everything that Alicent stands for. And that's kind of how the two are, right? Where Rhaenyra goes against these laws or ideologies that women can't sleep around like men can, because men could do the exact same thing Rhaenyra's doing and have no problems, but because it's a woman doing it, there's the big issue. And that's a big theme of not only the show but also Fire and Blood on this section of the book. So to me, you look at all these ideas and we kind of have to fast forward into episode 6. So episode 6 kind of shows us that Rhaenyra has this marriage to Laenor, right? But it's not really a marriage. It's a phony marriage, to say the least. Rhaenyra is having a relationship with Harwin Strong, and Harwin Strong presumably is the father of all of her children. Now, Alicent, this is where Alicent really cannot even fathom this, right? Because not only has Rhaenyra made one bastard, she's made 3, right? And this is the whole idea for Alicent and why she hates Rhaenyra and cannot seem to compromise or make any terms with Rhaenyra, is because Alicent sees Rhaenyra as a spoiled kind of child that gets to do whatever she wants. She can get away with anything she wants here. She loses her virginity before marriage. No one cares. She has all these 3 children that everyone can obviously tell are not Laenor's, and no one cares, right? She's kind of isolated because she's the one that feels like she's the one talking about this stuff and saying this is, some bullshit, and no one's really listening to her. So when we get this, Alicent kind of feels kind of isolated, as well as she's not happy with her life. Her children kind of come out bad. But let's kind of get this from Rhaenyra's point of view. I've done a lot of Alicent's point of view, but let's get this from Rhaenyra's point of view. Rhaenyra is kind of the princess. She's going to inherit the throne. She kind of has a lot of responsibilities, but especially younger in life, she kind of goes against all these things. She makes a lot of bad decisions. She doesn't take on the full responsibility of being the heir, kind of what some of Viserys kind of calls out when Rhaenyra isn't choosing anyone to marry. She has these rumors brought up against her. It's a little, you see Rhaenyra for what she is, a teenager. Right? She's a teenager that doesn't want to be put into the role she's being put into. And she goes against a lot of these laws, or I guess preconceptions by the Lords of Westeros. And when we skip into episode 6 with Rhaenyra, think about the situation that she's been put into. She's with a husband that is going to be distraught about Joffrey's death, who just wants men, doesn't want her. So she has a husband that really is not going to give her children, right? Because I don't see a situation where Rhaenyra would have actually slept with Rhaenyra. It just doesn't seem likely. And she then also is faced with all of the stresses of ruling, which is what we see with Viserys. We see how it takes a toll on Viserys. And she is someone that probably is not fit to rule because she doesn't really want to. The only reason she wants to is because she's been put into that place. And now it's kind of like an ego thing where like she kind of, because she's been assigned to do it, she's going to do it. And she's going to, Aegon the second comes up, or Aegon's, Viserys has Aegon, and Rhaenyra is like, it doesn't matter. I'm still the heir. I'm going to rule. And you even look at Rhaenyra with how Alicent and Rhaenyra's relationship breaks down, and how by this 10-year gap, there really isn't a relationship between the two. We can tell there's obvious feuding between the two. They really don't have a relationship anymore. And I think it's all culminates in this council meeting where Rhaenyra is willing to make peace with Alicent. And this is a very good deal, right? Because no matter what you think of Rhaenyra's children, whether they're bastards or not, which they very heavily are hinted at they are, it doesn't matter because Rhaenyra is the heir. Her, like, ascension to the throne didn't come through Rhaenyra. It came through her own, right? Rhaenyra was the one benefiting off of the marriage because he comes into the throne, not the other way around. So regardless of if the children are bastards or not, marrying them is very beneficial to you, right? Because instead of having to plot and have a war or something like that, they can just marry into the family, and there you go. The two houses are united, and there doesn't really need to be a feud anymore, right? And even people that would start supporting, like, a male heir, right? Well, the families are now wedded together, so who is going to, like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, all the conflict dies if this happens. And they're even willing to give dragon eggs to Alicent and her family, which is a little bit questionable. We're not sure why they don't have access to more dragon eggs, because again, they are part of the royal family off of Viserys, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But either way, they're going to get dragon eggs at it, which dragon eggs is very valuable, right? So Alicent looks at this offer, and she basically looks at it in disgust. Alicent is someone that is like, why would I marry my true-born children who should ascend the throne? We should be on top. To these bastards. They're an exact insult against everything Alicent believes. Alicent follows the rules. Rhaenyra is not following the rules. Rhaenyra is not doing what she should be doing. And Alicent, it's been in her character for so long now that she can't even consider this offer when it is a perfectly good offer and would lead to a great peace between the two sides. So when you look at the way the show has been framed so far, now that we've analyzed both characters and why they've kind of gotten to the point that they are in the show, I think it's very clear to see that the Greens are definitely in the wrong in this moral argument so far. Because Rhaenyra has been the only one, really, that's offered peace between the two sides. She has done a very good job of, when you look at her decisions, they are not good decisions politically or for the realm, but they're decisions where, okay, she wants to sleep with a man, she wants to have some male companionship when her husband is obviously gay, or she's looking for it, with Kristen Cole because she's attracted to him. Those are like her major flaws or decisions that have gotten her into trouble, right? But they're very human mistakes. They're very human things. Now, again, we're not going to defend the Daemon and Rhaenyra one because, again, incest, kind of weird. Yeah, that one's a bit just weird from Rhaenyra. But you look at the other decisions she's made that have led her to this point, they haven't been like they've been, awful, like, moral decisions. They've just been human decisions, right? Look at Alicent's mistakes. Alicent's, and the reason she is someone that Rhaenyra, I guess, doesn't like at this point. She lies to Rhaenyra about basically trying to court her dad. She basically manipulates Viserys to marry her. I know, again, all this is with Otto Hightower, like, whispering in her ear. She also goes through with it. Alicent is someone that kind of tries to act like she has Rhaenyra's best interest in mind, while in reality, she's very jealous of Rhaenyra, and she's very judgmental of Rhaenyra, when that's really the kind of life Alicent would love to have. So when you take into all of the personal reasons, and even if you look at Alicent's actions at the end, yes, she didn't directly tell the Clubfoot to kill Lionel and Harwin, but she definitely kind of exit on, almost like how they're such a problem to her and stuff like that, and how she wishes she could have Otto here instead. She very much is now kind of involved in murder, things that Rhaenyra is not involved with. And that's the way the show has kind of gone. They've kind of given the villainous arc to Alicent and more of the hero arc to Rhaenyra. Because Rhaenyra is someone that, again, we've talked about, for the most part, has not made a lot of bad moral choices. Right? She's made a lot of bad political decisions and decisions that make it harder for Viserys to rule. And Viserys has done neither side any favors. Right? He could have easily just overridden Alicent and said, you guys are going to marry your 2 children, and that is done. But no, he doesn't. He doesn't take charge. So, through 6 episodes and what we've seen so far on screen, I would say Rhaenyra's camp is in the morally good side. I think Alicent and her camp so far, if you even see the way she's acting around her children, where she's like, Aegon, you need to be king. Aegon doesn't want to be king. The dude's too worried about jacking off out of a window. Like, right now, she is pushing on agendas to her children when they're children. They don't care about these things. And I think for me, Alicent definitely is the villain in the way she's acting and going about her relationship with Rhaenyra. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.